Hey out there, I'm Ceiba, and I originate an expression that I call the Tau of Equipoise. And this video is going to be about shoulder reorientation. And if you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know that Tau of Equipoise puts forth a new paradigm. And this new paradigm is shifting us from our current duality structure of bilateral symmetry, which is a fallacy, into the reality of our three-dimensional architecture, which is radial symmetry. And what we're going to talk about and do today up against the wall is designed to reorient our shoulders. So many of us are having a lot of difficulty these days with shoulder pain, neck, headaches, range of motion, performance. We're, becoming injured doing what we love, which is a real bummer. So one of the reasons that's happening is that we're being told, we're being spoken to about our body as if it's a square, as if it's a two-dimensional object. And so we're missing an entire dimension of our architecture. The third dimension is missing from the duality structure. So what this is designed to do is reorient our shoulders through our trunk. The shoulders don't go back. That's a fallacy perpetuated by this duality structure. And as a result, most of us are trying to shove shoulders back, and they just simply don't work that way. That's not the design. Our shoulders and our pelvis are elliptical, so they rotate on an ellipse through our trunk, through our center. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a strap, or as you can see, I've got a belt, and a flat surface. As you can see, this is my closet. Whatever you've got at home that is similar to this, that's all you need. I'm going to go through briefly the orientation from the feet all the way through the trunk, but really it's critical that you are accessing your radial symmetry during this myofascial reorientation. So I strongly suggest, if you haven't seen my video, I think it's called Restore Your Deep Core, which is deeply instructional to help you reorient back through your radial symmetry of your trunk. Then pause here quickly and go watch that so that you can really precisely orient yourself, because otherwise your shoulders won't get the full benefit of this reorientation. So essentially, our bodies are a geometry, and we're essentially nested polyhedrons. And the nesting principle is really essential for negentropy, self-ordering principle, which is one of the principles of our human form and all form in organic three-dimensional life. So if your trunk isn't oriented properly, the shoulders won't be able to nest in their polyhedral structure, in their architecture, and you simply won't get the full benefit. So watch that quickly if you haven't seen that. If you have, great. Let's hit the flat surface with our strap. And here, you want something that's taut. So if you don't have a yoga strap or a belt, you can use a towel. What you don't want to use is a band, because you want this to be able to stay taut as you're pulling on it, because we're going to use this to help us reestablish tensegrity and omnidirectionality through our transverse dimension, through that missing third dimension. So let's hit our wall here. And you're going to take the stance that we've taken in other videos, which is basically a lean. You're not going to be in a squat, but you do want to keep your knees slightly bent in this particular reorientation. And your feet are depending on your height. Mine are about 1.5 feet away from the wall, and they are hip width distance apart. And the radial symmetry for our legs begins with the second toe. So if you look down, all 10 toes should be pointing straight forward. The feet should be parallel with each other. And from the second toe, we should be able to draw a straight line up our shin. that should come right to the apex if we're attuned radially to our kneecap, the apex of our kneecap. From there, we should be able to draw a straight line dead center up through our thigh, right up to the apex of what we call our hip bone, the front part of our pelvis. So take a second and orient yourself there. The next phase of this is the trunk restoration through the center. And here's what I was talking about earlier. If you haven't seen this video, this is where it becomes really critical. So we're going to pull our belly buttons back. We want to get our backs flat, or as flat as possible, against our wall. And you really want to take care that as you're pulling the belly button back, or really just slightly below the belly button, that you're not tucking your pelvis under to get there. And I'll turn from the side to the side so you can see me. So as you're pulling your belly button back, you want to take care that you don't tuck that pelvis under in order to get your belly back. The pelvis floats neutrally, and the top of what we call our hip bones should really be horizontal. So you don't want them tipping forward, you don't want them tucking under, you want them just at a nice floating neutral horizontal here. So the next phase, after you get your belly button oriented straight back to that wall, neutral pelvis, you're going to put a nice deep scoop and create lift through your trunk. This is also a missing aspect of our architecture that has gone missing through the duality structure, is lift. Because lift doesn't happen straight up and down. Lift happens in a spiral. We are really spiraling. We're really toroids. So you want to really put a deep lift right up to the horseshoe of the ribs. So everything else is staying exactly as you placed it. Now the horseshoe is pulling straight back as well into this wall. And already this is tremendous effort. So if you want to pause and work a little bit here and get your body established and oriented to this work, that's fine, do that. The next phase is we're going to start working with our shoulders. And what you really want to take care here with is not to use this trapezius muscle, this muscle along here, because most of you who are watching this are probably watching because you have pain here. So one of the reasons that we just cannot seem to get rid of the tension and the knots and the pain here at the trapezius is that we don't understand, we're not being taught the full architecture, the full polyhedral design of our bodies. So the shoulders rotate and pull through. So what we're being taught is pulling our shoulders back. And what that does, unfortunately, is it puts a little bit of hyper curve here in our lumbar spine. It just throws everything off. It pulls us way off of our radial center. So the shoulders cannot go back. That's not the design. What you really want to focus on here is pulling from underneath your arms down through the ribs and toward that horseshoe. That's where you really want to orient the shoulders. So from the shoulder blades, underneath the armpits, through the ribs, and into the horseshoe here. Okay, so we're going to take our straps, and you're going to come pretty wide. You want a quite wide W here. You want to take care that the elbows are not above the shoulders. You want them below the shoulders. And you really now want to take care that you're pulling down underneath the arms into the ribs and into that horseshoe. Meanwhile, everything else is in place. I'm already sweating. So this alone is quite a bit of effort. If you want to take a moment and pause here, you can get a great amount of work here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to push our elbows and the backs of our hands into our wall. At the same time, you're drawing down underneath the arms, and you're going to rip that strap in half. And as you rip this strap in half, you're going to notice the shoulder blades are going to want to come together. And that's exactly their design. They're going to want to come together and then pull through the trunk. So you're pulling down underneath your arms into the ribs. You're pushing the elbows and the backs of the hands into your wall. And now we're going to scoot, just about a 2-inch movement, nothing huge, that strap up and down. And you're still pulling that belly button straight back into the wall. The pelvis is not tucking. You've got a nice, really deep, high scoop up the spine into the horseshoe. That horseshoe is pulling into your flat surface. You're plastering your elbows and the backs of your hands into the wall. You're drawing down underneath your arms and you're pulling that strap in half, and the shoulder blades are coming together. They're squeezing together, and you can hear my voice shaking. This is tremendous effort. So let's do 2 more. Pulling up, rip that strap in half, plaster those elbows and your hands, squeeze those shoulder blades together, and release. Oh, okay. So to give you an idea of what was working there besides everything, you really should have felt, and still right now feel, a lot of effort kind of underneath the arms to that serratus. You should feel like your arms kind of want to automatically rotate back, effortlessly rotate down, rather than pulling straight back. And if you pull back, now you can really feel how that pinches your trapezius muscle. So this strap reattunement should start giving your body its reorientation, the shoulders, their reorientation of their actual architecture, which is rotating elliptically through the trunk. And even as I'm doing it standing here, and you can try it as well, take those shoulder blades and push them through the trunk, and it just feels so much stronger. You feel like you've got a lot of lift here in your trunk. My head feels like it's floating now properly over my shoulders. So this is the beginning of reorientation of the shoulders. And I'm going to do a whole series here of reorientation through the trunk, the shoulders, the neck, and the head. And it's going to be a lot of work. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned. Take care and see you soon. Peace.